Hey, what's up, everybody? BDL 44 coming in with you with another video. All right, so um, I'm watching the Los Angeles Lakers do fantastic things in these playoffs, and I'm looking around, and as I'm considering the roster that we have, and I'm listening to the video that I had made last night in regards to the win, I was saying that the team is deep. If you have the depth out there, then you probably don't have the star power to beat the team. If you have the star power, you probably don't have the depth. I think this is the best team left in the playoffs right now from a roster standpoint. And there are more components that go into the functionality of a game, which is why I wouldn't just go off and say, yo, the Lakers are the best. We're taking it. It's coaching. There's a lot of different things, health. There's a lot of things that will determine what actually takes place. But I think we got the best roster on paper left right now. Just complete. And it's built to defeat who's left because we were able to put together the pieces while the season was put together, was actually being played out. So, as I look at our team and I say it's deep, that is why the team is as good as it is, because it can withstand injury, because it has switchable pieces, big players, small players, shooters, defenders all over the roster. But the only way that works is if everything is affordable. If the players themselves don't make too much to where this isn't possible because of the cap restraints. Now, mind you, this is a science that I would never tell you guys that I fully understand. It changes a lot as well, especially with the new collective bargaining agreement. So you're going to need a capologist, so to speak, to really tell you what that all entails. But that you have that capologist with you as you put together your team and devise your plan and timeline is obviously important. Two, you want to make sure that all of the players and everybody involved, agents and everybody involved who wants to be a part of a successful championship situation is ready to invest in that situation. Now, how they go about making that happen, in my mind, is a very, very complicated way to make that fair. Because when you start asking people to take pay cuts, you're not just asking them to take pay cuts, you're asking them to take pay cuts for their corporations. And that does take away from other budgets and things of that nature. So it gets tricky. It's not as simple as saying, yo, player, take pay cut. As maybe as I've said in the past, simplifying it as such. But what I'm saying is, the game is that if you can't afford to keep a deep team, you lose. If you can't find a way to keep good enough assets, you lose. So all the players, all the agents, all the assets who would ever be considered to benefit from winning needs to understand that they have to invest in winning. And so that's what the evolution of the logic has, I guess, been. As I look at my understanding of what the NBA is about and how to best win, every situation has had some affordable process that allowed for depth or star power in solid players or whatever it took to win the championship. And it gave you, the NBA gave you the superstars and the guys that those superstars were dominant over the other superstars, when in actuality, they were just in more advantageous positions than those superstars because of the affordable nature of the teams they were on in a lot of cases, not all. But in a lot of cases, sometimes you had to run into Steph Curry and you run into a Shaq, and those guys just bust up the league entirely because they're so talented. And if you just give them an even halfway affordable team, they're going to make up for any other mistakes that would otherwise be made by the talent that wouldn't be as good or the circumstances that wouldn't be as possible in terms of defense or offense or whatever the heck it would be. Super complicated stuff that would make you not as good. You know what I'm saying? Basketball stuff. But what it really comes down to is those that were able to close those holes off, and the only way they were able to do that is because they were able to afford themselves within that cap. So it stands to understand that being wealthy as heck is the most important thing in the NBA. But obviously, beyond my understanding, but enough to understand that there are other bags out there to get and other ways to make money in the NBA other than the cap money that you take from your team. And if you're going to sacrifice your body, look at the schedule and say it's a little too many games, want to load manage, but then also want to be the superstar where you get all the credit, then you got to understand where certain things just cannot be at the same time. Especially when your body doesn't necessarily give you the ability to be bionic and just continue to play all. And you want to live to play a life, a basketball life of what, 20 years so you can be the best player ever. You know what I mean? You want to compete with LeBron James, so you want to get a good start off. So a lot of these different things are like, of course, these are not possible reaches, but if you're reaching to be the very best, and I think a lot of players are, whether they're able to reach it or not, then these are things you legitimately are thinking about, especially if you're obsessed with excellence, which I know a lot of people who can reach professional levels often are. So when you're considering this, it's like, how do I win? If I'm gonna go out here and bust my backside to win, then how do I actually do that? And I don't think it's clicked for everybody yet. That you have to, and you and your team, and I'm not talking about your basketball team, but I'm talking about the people that, your family, and the people that benefit from your money, and the people who are part of your business, or whatever. Y'all gotta invest in winning, with the risk of your body breaking down or the team just not making it or whatever, understanding that every team's doing that to some degree. It's the teams that are, it's the organizations that are able to somehow get that going in an affordable way, however it comes about, that ultimately have the best chance to truly have a deep enough team or a flexible enough situation for their GM to win or put together a winning situation. Is what I'm saying. To put together a competitive enough to win situation. And so as I continue to evolve in my thinking in regards to depth and how important it is to have good players on the back of your benches, young players ascending, good contracts and things like that, I'm like, okay, that's the next step to also winning. This is the next step to also being able to really stay, good, where you need to be in regards to the rest of the fray, is to make sure that everybody on the team is able to contribute to what is going to put together the best way under the cap for you to have the deepest team possible, which means players taking affordable contracts, or just the team devising a better way of making that happen, which is something beyond me once again. So, these are the different thoughts that I have, and I'm like, okay, now geniuses, go out there and figure this out to a point where more teams understand this, rather than you have players taking too much of the cap, you know what I mean, and ultimately trying their best to win, and ultimately not doing so, or getting worn down because they just simply don't have the backups that coaches trust or what have you. So given the fact that a lot of players have a lot of special needs to their game, guys can't shoot, guys are not fast or whatever, they can't be taking up too much of the cap, just by sheer nature that you're going to have to put other things around them in order for them to function properly and be as good as you want them to be. But all these expectations that these players have to win, this needs to be taken into account from player to player, so that they're not putting themselves in positions to not be able to deliver. You know what I mean? So these are things that you see other players mistakes. They make these mistakes over time, and now it's like, all right, we have enough data to see where they've kind of made those mistakes, and the new generations kind of come in with a better plan for themselves, better expectations for what type of money they should be looking to make based on their expectations for what it takes to win, and what sacrifices they would be giving up if they decide to do things differently. So hopefully the cap will be more favorable going forward somehow in the years to come, so that all this can kind of work out for everybody a bit better, so we don't have so many teams that are shallow, so to speak, without future assets, and without ways to get out from under bad trades and things of that nature. We definitely want to see to it that players and all these different individuals understand what is probably realistic in terms of winning, and what you can do out there without adequate teammates, that kind of thing. It's just, you're setting yourself up for failure unless you got great scouts. You can find players out of nowhere, which a lot of these teams are finding out they can do. So, maybe the situation can evolve around itself that way, and teams just find more affordable pieces that can do a whole lot for them. But if that's not going to manifest, then you're going to find out that players that take too much, or players that are, so cap heavy, that have injury problems, just are going to tank your expectations for winning. You can't win a championship with a player making $200 million and only playing like 40 games a season, unless they're Anthony Davis, basically. Unless they're Anthony Davis. It can do so much for you on the basketball floor to make up for it. So, player evaluation, things of that nature, being able to properly identify how much someone is doing for you, rather than just looking at a strong attribute that they put together on the floor, and seeing that is something that can carry you, because a lot of teams make that mistake as well. Like, oh my God, that guy can shoot. Yep. But he can't do this, and this, and you're going to need all those things in order to compete. So you give him a half of your cap and then put a bunch of players around your team that can only halfway do that, your team's going to suck. So it's like you gotta have proper player evaluation and process. So that's how I look at the NBA right now. I think that these conversations should be a bit more common. So that as the new generations come in, as I said, their expectations are solid. They don't think they need to take too much, or rather have expectations that they should be going after too much if they want to win. And then be getting all frustrated because they can't get it done. It's like, bro, you play with bad player this, bad player that. Team ain't good enough. The other team got all kinds of dudes that contribute. So you're just getting attacked from too many different angles. And that's what it is. It's not a lacking in your talent or that you're not clutch or whatever. It just is what it is. You don't have enough. And you took too much. So that's what it is. The understanding is growing here on this channel, and we've always had conversations like this. This is not a new conversation, but we want to kind of center it into a video like this, to where we're talking strictly about it, to where guys know at the end of the day, you got to sacrifice if you want to truly be a part of a championship situation. And it's not my place to tell you to leave money on the table, but at the same time, is it really leaving money on the table when you go out there and your teammates aren't able to get it done, and you got to do too much, and then you end up getting hurt? You know what I mean? Or you end up losing and your reputation stinks. You can't get the same endorsements, and you lose money that way. It's all an investment at the end of the day. It's all an investment. And so when you look at it that way, it's like, yeah, maybe. And then you realize, winning kind of makes it worth it, But sometimes you can invest like that and it still doesn't work. But you increase your chances because what you're investing in is teammates. So you get hurt, the team's still good. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So that's what the pay cut is all about. Or rather, the taking. Yeah, I guess it's called a pay cut. Let me make sure I get that word right. I don't know. But whatever the case may be, you want to definitely invest in yourself, and however best to do that is beyond me. So that's how the NBA has it set up, and I guess it works for itself. I guess it works for them. So. Yeah, man, BDF 44. I just wanted to get up here and share that thought, because I really think that players really genuinely want to win and genuinely want to be as wealthy as possible. And sometimes those two things don't necessarily correlate when they're talking about simply the NBA cap bag, so to speak. You want to take as much of that as it makes sense for your team and for yourself, so that you leave enough on the table for everybody else to eat, simply put. So that's what I gotta say, man. BDL 44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.